So welcome back to the Tool Shed. In this tool, I want to share with you a poem. This poem is transformative. I don't have that many poems that I really turn to for direction when I need direction out in my life, but this is one of them. I'd say I have 5 of them, and I've shared quite a few of them. I'll put the text below. This is by Rudyard Kipling. It's called If. I'm sure you've heard of it. I want to walk you through it, and then we'll talk a little bit about how I use it, how you can use it, and we'll take it from there. But the bottom line is, Kipling wrote this at the end of the 19th century about the Boer War and his, his sort of inspiration from I believe it was one of the generals who really embodied the message of this poem. Later on, he would turn to it himself after the loss of his son in that particular war. And so I know it had a particular meaning to him to get him through his dark nights of the soul, and I know it has gotten me through some of mine. Here you go. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing their heads and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired of waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you have given your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. This is such an essential poem to a man's life, if you're in my Man Uprising program, but to a human being's life in all my programs, and anybody, whoever you are. Why? All right. Well, one of the reasons is, for me, it takes me into that space between stimulus and response, from Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our power to choose our response. Can we live a life that isn't reactionary, right? Where we're not pulled off of our space, out of our space by our circumstances. That is the entirety, I think, of our work here in this lifetime. To expand that space so that we are our own masters, right? So that nobody and nothing controls us. And what Kipling is talking about all throughout here is that ability to live choosing our response. So, if you succeed in life, I've seen this over and over again, especially with the men I counsel, who start to believe their own bullshit. They start to walk with kings and lose the common touch. Or they lose it all, right? And they don't know how to recover. They don't know how to pick themselves back up again. They haven't developed that resilience. Can you live with either both of these extremes, but not going to them, and learning how to stand in the center and not be pulled off your center, pulled into the direction of that circumstance? Over and over again, he talks about, really is a Buddhist principle of non-attachment. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go out into the world and live. You should. It just means, can you do it while not being attached to the money? I think of Warren Buffett. The man does what he does with no attachment, non-attachment to the money. Now you can say, well, it's because he doesn't need the money. Well, I would argue he has the money because he doesn't need it. He's not attached to it. It is simply a means for him to develop mastery, to do good in the world. And so over and over again, this poem reminds us, right? That we must walk through this world with not too much attachment with what the kings are saying about it, us, or the paupers are saying about us, triumph or disaster, right? Can you treat those two things just the same? Doesn't mean you like the disaster or you don't like the triumph. It means, can you still live in response, not being, again, pulled by those circumstances? When you lose it all, can you be unattached to the ego and pick yourself up again and build your life with worn out tools? I know a guy who's made millions and now he's lost millions and now he's working at the Home Depot. And he's doing it in such a profound, dignified way. I just look at him going, that's the if man, right? He is just building his life again with worn out tools. All of us have to build our lives with worn out tools. It doesn't mean you have to work at the Home Depot. When you lose a loved one, can you love again? Go back out into the world and rebuild with worn out tools. You don't go buy new tools at the Home Depot. You use your old tools that have proven to work time and time again. And that's what this poem does for me. It's a tool that works for me. When I feel pulled by the extremes, the highs when I was walking with kings, the lows when I was at my rope's end, like coming back to this place of equanimity, of non-attachment, of responsibility, the ability to choose my response. If you can do that, then you will be a man or woman, my son or daughter. And so that's how I really think of if. I didn't go through nearly much of this. There's so much more. I encourage you to go back through this, read it almost to the point. I haven't yet been able to memorize it. It's so long, but I've memorized pieces of it. And so when I'm, stooping again to build with worn out tools, I have my arrow in the quiver and I take it out and I use this as yet one more way to navigate my life, living my life with responsibility, the ability to choose my response. So go out into the world, and if you live this way, you will be a man, my son. Talk to you in the next tool.